Welcome back, goalies, to the DIY Goalie podcast. We are happy to have you join us again today. For all our Canadian listeners out there, by the time this episode airs, it'll be just after Canadian Thanksgiving. So I hope you guys had an awesome Thanksgiving long weekend, had lots of turkey and pumpkin pie that now we can go and burn off by doing some crease patterns, by doing some up and downs, getting the cardio going, and burn off some of those excess calories. Um, First off, I want to say we are thankful for all of you guys tuning in, all the support that you guys have provided for us, and the fact that you stuck around this long after now the 27th episode of the podcast, and we're having a lot of fun doing it. Because of the Thanksgiving weekend and just in general our schedules with our day jobs as well as the True North goaltending coaching sessions, Connor and I couldn't really find a day that worked for both of us to schedule an episode. So it is just myself today, but that's okay. We are still going to have a good time. So, a couple things if you guys are in the Edmonton area, True North Goaltending, our sister company that we also run, that runs the in person goalie coaching side of things for us. We are currently doing a giveaway to give away 3 free sessions. So there'll be 3 winners. They'll each receive 1 session. You can enter that by going to truenorthgoaltending.com. The giveaway right now is on the front page. It is only until October 16th, though, which is Wednesday, and this episode's coming out on Tuesday, so you guys only kind of have one more day to get into that. So make sure you check that out. And the other thing too is our facility opening pricing that we kind of discounted is going to be up on October 19th. So if you want to get in on the kind of special pricing we had for the facility opening, you can do so before then. The pricing's already applied, so you don't need to enter a discount code or anything. But they're just the prices are all on sale for right now. So that will be available until the 19th. The giveaway is until the 16th, and all of that you can find at truenorthgoaltending.com. As for us today on the podcast episode, we are tackling the concept of goalie drills and practice plans. And we are going to go into our approach when we look at making drills, when we look at making practice plans, and hopefully that kind of helps you guys to be able to think about that a little bit more, because when you guys are at your practices, I imagine there's very little goalie specific stuff that you guys get. So now you can maybe take ownership for your own development and go into some practices with a couple drills, or maybe a half practice plan, or maybe you might even get a full practice to yourself with a coach that maybe doesn't really know what they're doing in terms of goalies, so you can provide them with a practice plan to be like, hey, this is the stuff I want to work on, and all of that good stuff. It might even give you some stuff you can do at the outdoor rink, or, if you go out for stick and puck, or, whatever the case is, whenever you can find some ice. So that's kind of what we're going into today. So just to start off, we're going to talk about drills themselves, then we'll kind of build out from there into practice plans. But the biggest things that will help with both drills and practice plans, and it sounds kind of obvious, but sometimes that's not the case, but it's a lot of it comes down to planning and preparation, and trying to think about kind of the 10,000 foot view. the general overview of what you're trying to accomplish, and that'll kind of help you drill down from there. But the two things that you want to kind of think of are, where are we at in our current season, and where are we at with our current skill level. And that's going to kind of help you make that 10,000 foot view and have a roadmap to be able to go on. So we kind of talked last week about it being a new season and kind of how we approach, going into a new season. So just as an example, when it comes to our practice plans, when it comes to our drills, uh, I kind of personally go by where are we at in the season. So the start of the season is a lot of foundational stuff. We're trying to build that foundation to be able to improve upon throughout the season. So going back to those four pillars that we talked about, the movement or skating, the tracking, the positioning, the efficiency, those four things, if we can tackle kind of at the start of the season, that'll help us again build that foundation as we go into more of the advanced stuff throughout the rest of the season. At True North Goaltending, what we do when we work with organizations and we see their goalies throughout the entire season, or now that we have the facility, if we have a regular goalie coming out to the facility, that's kind of what we do to start. So usually we kind of break it down by months to give us our general roadmap. So, like September, October usually are kind of more of the tracking, positioning, basic skating. Then we kind of move towards, like November, December, where we're looking more at some, transitional movements. We're working on, recoveries and rebounds, some lateral plays, more of the movement stuff. And then come, the new year in January, February, that's when we get into more of the advanced stuff, the post play, the situational awareness, kind of tips, screens, breakaways, that sort of kind of more advanced stuff. And then usually at the end of the season and playoff time, we kind of revert back to just going to the basics. And that's more of a maintenance part of our schedule, where we're just, feeling good about ourselves, keeping it simple, just working on tracking, skating, positioning, just kind of keeping it light, making sure we're dialed in on the basics and letting everything else run its course. So that's kind of what we do when we kind of plan a season, so that now when we're doing our drills and our practice plans based off of what part of the season it's in, we have a general idea of how we want to approach that ice time, or how we want to approach building those drills and those plans. So the other thing too is just having an idea of where you're at in terms of your skill level as well. So not just where you're at during the season, but where you're at for your skill level too. So if you're a goalie that's a little bit newer to the game, we still have a lot of work to do on the foundations and the fundamentals, then that's fine. Work more on those things. And maybe we're not even worried about the more advanced stuff yet. Maybe the whole season is a focus on, you know, building that foundation for future seasons to build off of. So again, if we kind of use month by month as an example, because that's kind of easy to do, maybe the earlier months are just strictly skating, so I can't shuffle or T-push very well. I'm just going to work on those two basic movements until I'm more comfortable with how those are. And then, maybe after that, we start working on the tracking and the save execution portion of things. Then from there, you can start working on your rebound controls, stuff like that. So maybe that's your whole season where you just tackle those fundamentals, and that's perfectly fine too. If you're, playing at a more elite level and you're struggling with your post play, Maybe after, the first month when you've kind of got back to the fundamentals, the foundation, and you're feeling pretty good about where you're at there, maybe then you move strictly right into post play, and that's what your focus is for a month or two, right? So those are the two big things to think of when you're looking at the 10,000 foot view. Where are you at in your season, and what makes sense to work on at that point of the season, and where are you at with your skill level, and kind of, what needs work the most, and what do you think is kind of the most important to start tackling. So now that we've kind of established, a bit of a game plan, a bit of a general overview and roadmap for our season, from there we kind of, we'll start tackling how we build a practice plan. So again, the plan that we're focused on should kind of have a bit of a theme and should have a natural progression to the practice plan. Because it doesn't make a whole lot of sense if, you're at the point in the season that you're like, okay, I am going to be working on recoveries. So, you're like, okay, I'm going to build in some rebounds and have to recover after my rebound. We're going to work on some rebound control stuff. And then it just doesn't make sense to, have a post play drill in your practice plan if that's how you're going to approach it. So once you've established your theme, stick with it and have a natural progression throughout your practice plan. And build the drills to have a bit of a natural flow. You don't want to start with your hardest drill, I guess, your most complicated drill as your very first drill in the practice plan. You want to give yourself some time to kind of get into it, warm up a little bit, have your simple drill where you're working on the specific thing for the theme of that practice plan. And then from there, you can kind of build off of, okay, now we can add some extra elements while still working on our theme. So I don't know what we'll do. Maybe we'll kind of walk through a practice plan of rebound control and recoveries because we've kind of already talked on that. But so, for example, my framework that I like to use is I like to start with skating, then the puck drills, and then I usually leave a little bit of time at the end for a game. Don't always get to the game, but I find that's something that the goalies look forward to, and that kind of gives them a little finish at the end to feel good about and get the competitive juices flowing. But so I think regardless of what we do, skating is very important, and that also helps focus on the technique of our movement without having to worry about executing saves as well. So again, in the example of the the rebound control and the recoveries, our skating, we could do a crease pattern where you know, you have a T push recovery as your main movement. So maybe it's just a simple box crease pattern where you start on your post, you push to the top of the crease set on one face off dot, you drop down into your butterfly, you rotate, you make a T push recovery to your feet to get set on the other face off dot, and then push back into your post, right? Just a simple box crease pattern where the main focus is that T push recovery. And, you know, then you can kind of work on that movement without having to worry about the added variables of save execution and all of that stuff, right? There's no passes, there's no shots. We're just working on that movement. We're isolating that movement, and we can really hone that in before we get to the puck drills. So I usually kind of aim for 15 to 20-ish minutes of skating in a 1 hour session. As we've talked about lots before, skating is incredibly important. Movement is incredibly important as goalies. So I always implement some sort of skating into my practice plans. So I encourage you guys to do the same because of how important it is. And there's a lot of goalies that do not do enough with their skating and are not good enough with their skating. It makes your guys' life a lot easier. So going through that then, so we've worked on our skating in that practice plan. We're now working into the puck drills. Again, start simple and get more advanced as you go throughout the drill or throughout the practice. It doesn't make sense to have a drill that's throwing 5 or 6 different elements into the drill as your very first drill. That's kind of why we have warm-up drills before a game, why we have warm-up drills to start practice. It's to kind of get us into it, to make sure that, we've got our eyes going, we've got our hands going, and then we can build from there. So when you are building a practice plan and you start going into puck drills, start off with something simple, even if it's only a 5-minute quick little warm-up drill, so going back to our rebound and recovery, practice plan that we're kind of building. So we did our box drill, our box crease pattern drill. So why don't we do that same drill, but now add a shot? So you start on your post, you push out to a pile of pucks on the face-off dot. The shot comes low, far side. We work on making a stick save. And after that save, we rotate and recover and make a T-push recovery on our feet to our rebound. That's it. There's no second shot yet. It's just a simple one-shot drill that we're working on, tracking the puck in, making a stick save in front of our body, tracking the puck out, and then recovering to that rebound. We'll get a good recovery, get set on that puck, and then we can reset for the next side. So now we go to the other side, do the same thing. So what we're doing in this instance is we're isolating what we want to work on. So it's just a good control of our rebound on that first save and a good recovery after that. That's it. That's their 2 focuses. Nice and simple. Good to get the eyes going, good to get the hands and the body going, good to get our recoveries going. And it's nice and simple. After you've done that one, what you could do now, we're getting a little bit more complex. So from there, what you could do is you could now add a second shot on the rebound, and you can maybe add another element of movement. So say what you could do now is you start on the post, maybe now you push to the top of the crease in the middle and you shuffle over to one side where you're set on the face-off dot where the pile of pucks is. There's a shot far side low to make your stick save, and now there's a second pile of pucks somewhere, whether it's in the slot in the middle or maybe on the other face-off dot. But now after that first shot, you've made your save, you've checked your rebound. Now you recover to that second pile of pucks for a second shot and play out that rebound until you cover it or until the coach or shooter scores. So now we're still working on our recoveries. We're still working on our rebound control, but now we've added a couple extra movements to kind of work on those transitional movements. So from shuffles to recoveries and from going one way back the other way. Now we've added a second shot. So not only do we have to make that first save, find our rebound, but now we have a second place that we have to now recover to, get over, second shot, make the save. Now we play out the rebound. So that's kind of the approach that we want to have when we're building these practice plans is let's work on simple first, and then we can build off of and add elements after that. And that'll kind of, help get into the practice, but it'll also help kind of build from the top up. So we're building a foundation, we're getting good at the simple stuff, and then we can work on the more advanced stuff. So again, we're trying to walk before we run, and that's kind of the natural progression that we want to have through our practice plan. The other thing that you can do too is maybe the next puck drill, Now we're working on recoveries on our knees. So up until this point, we've worked on recoveries to our feet. So the T-push recoveries. So maybe the last puck drill that you have in this practice plan works on making your first save. And then the second pile of pucks is more in tight to the net. So you have to work on an inside edge push recovery on your knees to that second shot. So now we've added, another approach, another, technique that we're working on, anything like that. And if that's something that you're putting into your practice plan, is this in tight recovery that we're on our knees, maybe at the start when you were doing your skating, some of the skating patterns that you're doing could include that inside edge push that you're working on. So again, that there's that natural progression throughout the whole practice plan. So that's kind of, I guess, the thought process, the approach that we have when we're coming into our practice plans is how can we build off of simple to more advanced throughout the practice plan and work on different aspects of the theme of the practice plan. So again, with the recoveries, we did recoveries to our feet and we did recoveries staying on our knees. And now we are working both of those things throughout the practice plan. And we got more advanced as we went. And then at the end, if you can make a little game, the games don't necessarily have to be as, I don't know, I guess on theme as the rest of the practice. I mean, usually the games are literally just to keep it fun. But the other thing with the games too that I like is it gets, the goalies battling, it gets them competing, because with battle and compete, that's not something that you can really teach like from an X's and O's standpoint. So you can't draw up a drill to, work on the technique of battling and athleticism. But the best way to teach it is to get the goalies in that situation. And that's why I like finishing off with a little game, because it gets the competitive juices flowing. It forces them to be creative in the way they make the saves, because as much as we'd all like it to be pretty, sometimes it's not going to be pretty. But at the end of the day, the puck needs to stay out, and sometimes it doesn't matter how that happens. So working on that athleticism, working on that compete level, working on that battle level, that's something that I think is invaluable. And just a little sprinkle of it every practice, the last 5-7 minutes of the practice, a little bit of a game. So for example, if we're working on our recoveries again, so we'll stick to the theme, your little game, one thing that I like and the goalies I work with like a lot, two, is setting up 3 pucks. So you have a puck in the slot between the hash marks. You have a puck off to either side of the goalies, and that they just start at the top of the crease in their stance, set on that puck in the slot, and you shoot low to one side or the other. And whatever side you shoot to, you then go to the puck on that side, and it's a quick second shot with that puck in tight, and you play out the rebound. So it's that in tight play makes things happen fast. They got to be quick. They got to make decisions quick. But it also kind of jacks up the compete level, because things are happening quick and they got to get going. And then to take it one step further, you can make a bit of a competition out of it. So on that second puck, you can kind of keep score, I guess. So if the coach or the shooter scores, they get the point. If the goalie covers it, or if it's cleared, out of whatever predetermined area you say the puck's dead in, then the goalie gets the point, and you can go up to 3 points, 5 points, whatever. And I find the goalies really like when you put something on the line. So if they lose, they get 5 or 10 up and downs. If the coach or the shooter loses, you get 5 or 10 push-ups, or whatever the case is. So stuff like that, I think, is really good to add at the end of your practices, just to again work on that compete level, work on that athleticism and being creative in the way you make those saves and how you battle. So that's kind of how we approach our practice plans. We get the general theme that we're trying to work on. Again, I like that formula of skating, puck drills, game. Um, Again, it depends on your situation. If you have a larger group of goalies, I still would try and hit those three things. You just might do it in more of a station approach as opposed to, the progression from one to the next to the next. But either way, I find that formula works pretty good. It kind of helps you to tackle a lot of what you want to tackle throughout a practice. And again, just keep it relevant to the theme, go from simple to more advanced. And, if you want to tackle multiple approaches to, the theme, like doing on your feet as well as on your knees, whatever the case is, you can mix that into your practice plan as well. So that's kind of the general overview on that. If we drill down to the drills themselves, and we start looking at it from the smaller level, so it's very similar to kind of how we approach our practice plans. We have a theme for our drill and we break it down from there. So, for example, if you have a drill where you're working on screens, okay, so now we've identified our theme as being screens. From there, we want to kind of break it down further. Are we looking at a pass when we're screened and trying to find where the pass went and push over? Are we working on shots through screens? Are we working on a moving screen? Are we working on a static screen? Are we working on looking over our screen, looking around it, looking under it, right? There's kind of all these things that we got to think of how we're approaching the actual drill, to think of, okay, what's the specific approach we're going to have to this? So we know in general we're tackling screens, but now specifically what situation are we looking to accomplish or looking to, get better at? So we'll say moving screens. Okay. So now we know that we have to have an element of a moving screen. So if you've got, say you're working with a team of two goalies, you can use one goalie that's not in the net as the moving screen. Or if you have access to shooters, you can get another shooter that's doing the screening or something like that. But either way, use what you have available to you, and you know use that to kind of tackle what you want to accomplish from your drill. From there, you kind of think of too, okay, how simple or how complicated do I want this to be? Like, so we talked about it in our practice plans. If we're trying to really hone in on technique and making something, a habit and all of that stuff, then we want to really simplify it and take out all the variables that we can. So for the example of our moving screen, maybe there's no movement at all for the goalie. They're just at the top of the crease. Pucks are in the slot, maybe between the tops of the circles. And all it is the screen just moves across in front of the goalie. And as soon as that screen comes, shot comes. So the goalie has to just work around that moving screen. Okay. That is a very simple drill that isolates exactly what we want to work on, and there's nothing else in the drill. If, say, the screens maybe are not something new that we're working on, maybe we're pretty good with our screens already, now we can add elements to that. So maybe, you push off of your post out to a shooter or a coach at the top of the circle, and there's a moving screen where that coach can either shoot or pass across to the other top of the circle while there's a screen moving in front of you. So now you've got to find out and track whether that shot is coming or whether there's a pass. You have to look around the screen. Say they pass it across, you push across, and say there's a second moving screen on that side, and they can shoot with that screen. So now we've given options to the shooters, which makes the goalie think more. There's movement now involved. There's multiple points that a shot can come. You can add playing out the rebound now, so that the goalie not only has to really focus on finding the puck through the screen, but now they have to find their rebound and push to that. And once you play out rebounds too, that kind of starts the battle of the compete level. So that's another element of it. So you can see how, depending on how you want to approach your drill, uh, it allows for so many different variations of what you can do, right? And you can go as simple as, we are only working on this specific skill and we're isolating it, and there's nothing else involved, no other movement, no other shots. It's just, simple. Or you can start to combine elements. So you can add a lateral pass. You can add a push out from the post. You can add different movements, different patterns, add multiple shots, add playing out the rebound, all of this stuff that you can kind of put together. But again, think of where I'm at in terms of my skill level, and think of where I'm at in terms of building the foundation, in terms of the point in the season you're at, and where you've gotten to with that foundational stuff so far. So the other thing too is really think of what the game situation is when you're building these drills. So we just talked about kind of the moving screens. So on that one where it's a pass across and there's a screen, that's pretty standard for in zone play, that there's guys in front of the net moving around, jockeying for position, D to D pass, push over. Oh, there's still guys on that side jockeying for position. So there's always kind of, that traffic in front. So this drill really simulates those game situations where there's guys in front. We're trying to look around our guys, the opposing guys. There's passes, D to D, stuff like that. So that one's pretty obvious as to what the game situation could be. But just in general, when you are building these drills, just really think of, what am I trying to accomplish? What am I trying to mimic from a game? And what situation could happen that I want to work on in this drill. So that's going to help you kind of dictate like how you build the drill, um, and kind of, again, the more of a general overview that we can have of the drill, the better, the easier I guess it's going to be to build that drill, because we have a better idea of where we're going with it. The other thing too is, think of how the drill allows the goalie to kind of understand the goals of the drill. So whether you're building a drill for another goalie or whether it's for yourself, think of how easy is it to understand the why behind this drill. So for that last example with the screens, you can say the point of this drill is to get you used to looking around screens as they're moving and trying to identify if there's going to be a pass or a shot. So we're working on tracking pucks, finding pucks, fighting for our side of the puck through moving bodies. And to me, that's easy to explain to another goalie why we're doing this drill and why it's important. I think, to me, that means that it's a good drill. If you're struggling to explain why, or what the point of the drill is, then maybe we need to kind of go back to the drawing board and rethink a little bit. And again, just combine elements as best you can, especially as you get later in your practice plan. Because, we talked about keeping it simple earlier on, but as we get a little further into that practice, if we can add kind of some more complexity so that there's multiple elements coming together, because we all know in a game we're doing a lot of things at once and a lot of things in a short amount of time. So if we can kind of practice that, where not only are we moving, but we're looking through screens, we're making saves, we're playing out a rebound, we're recovering to a rebound, we're working off of our post out and back into our post. And, you know, by the end of the season, when you've kind of touched on pretty much everything, we want to be able to get to the point that we've got 6-7 different elements working together in a practice or in a drill as well as a practice plan, so that we have a nice rounded game as a goalie. So when you're building drills, don't be afraid to incorporate elements that you've already worked on in the drill to keep not only getting better at those elements, but now putting everything together, like putting the puzzle pieces together, right? So for example, like if your September month, your focus was tracking, that doesn't mean that we only focus on that in September and that's the last time we do it. You can incorporate that into drills in November. If November your focus is I don't know, screens, right? We can still focus on tracking the puck through a screen. We still want to work on having our eyes on the puck, all of that stuff, right? So when we're thinking about these practice plans, or our drills, I guess, don't be afraid to combine multiple elements in the drill throughout the drill. That's going to kind of help round your game up, help put the pieces together, and kind of have a successful like foundation that we can build off of and keep building on top of. So in general, the big thing is just have a plan, have a goal, have an approach before you go into building your practice plan, before you go into building your goalie drills. And really start thinking about the why behind whatever it is you're doing, right? So, why is this drill important? Why are we working on this? What is it that I need to get better at? Just really starting to think of the why behind things. That'll really help you establish a nice roadmap for your drills, for your practice plans, for your season plan. And that can really help you kind of, hit the ground running, because we don't want to spend time wasted on the ice trying to think of, okay, what should I do? What can I do here? Like, think of this ahead of time, because you never know too, like in your practices, when you're going to have 5 minutes of downtime where you can be like, oh, okay, I can pound out this skating drill quick, like have it in the back of your mind. So always just be thinking about what it is you want to work on, where you're at in your season, where you're at with your current development, and go from there. We've talked about it lots that you are your best goalie coach. So the more you can start to understand your game, with video, with, having a plan with how you approach your season, your practice plans, your drills, that's going to really allow you to kind of be successful when you need to take control of your own development. But just keep these things in mind. And this goes for if you're teaching yourself, if you're a goalie parent trying to help your kids out, if you're looking at getting into goalie coaching, or if you're an older goalie mentoring a younger goalie. Like, lots of U15, U18, junior goalies. They get asked to kind of mentor some of the younger goalies. This is stuff that you can kind of think of when you're looking at approaching development, when you're approaching creating these plans and these drills. But the biggest thing is just have a plan, have a goal of what you're trying to accomplish, and start building the drill or the practice plan from there. That's going to make the biggest difference. You guys can have or you guys can check out lots of drills that we have at the DIYgoalie.com/drills. um, I'm hoping one of these days, and maybe this is my public apology to all of you, but I'm hoping one of these days I have more time to get back to doing more content with the DIY goalie, between, you know, the True North goaltending facility as well as our organization stuff on top of, the day job and the DIY goalie stuff, and trying to, see the family every now and then. Unfortunately, I haven't done too much with the DIY goalie content, both articles and drills. But I'm hoping that somewhere down the line, once we kind of, get through all the chaos a little bit, and we'll have some more time to do that for you guys. But there's already lots on our drills page, and hopefully we can keep adding to that. But at least that's a good starting point. USA Hockey too has lots of good goalie drills. I'm pretty sure goalie coaches, they have quite a few as well. There's always, I think, In Goal magazine too, that they, for those of you that have the subscription to that, I think they have some drills and stuff. But lots of stuff out there. Don't be afraid to experiment and start building your own, see what you can come up with. Actually, one of my favorite things that we did in our True North goaltending camp this summer was our Friday classroom session. We actually had the kids create drills and present them to the goalies in the classroom session. So that was a lot of fun. They had fun with that, and I think it's a good exercise, even if you don't use the drills or use the practice plan, to even just sit down and try and build one and see what you can come up with, right? And that kind of, I think, helps start to understand the game a little bit more too. So that's something you guys can think of. As always, guys, very much appreciate you tuning in. If you can leave us a review or a rating on Apple Podcasts, on Spotify, Amazon Music, wherever you guys are listening, it helps us out a lot. Another thing that really helps out with no cost to you guys is just sharing the show. If you guys know goalies or goalie parents or whoever that could benefit from what we're putting out there, send it to them, share it with them. That helps us a lot. The other thing too, if you're looking to support us a little bit more, we do have merch at our shop at the DIYgoalie.com/shop. We've got some cool goalie related shirts and sweaters. You can use code podcast to get a little bit of a discount at checkout as well there. And then same thing, we've got our complete goaltending breakdown course, which is 26 videos of really simplified, broken down concepts of goaltending, so that you can kind of get more information at the DIYgoalie.com/courses. And once you go over to our course platform, if you do purchase the course, you can use code podcast to get a bit of a discount there as well. As always, you can subscribe to our YouTube channel, follow us on Facebook, Instagram, TikTok. We very much appreciate all the support that you guys have offered so far. We're getting quite a bit of listenership from across the world. So shout out to all you guys over across the pond there, in Europe as well as Australia and kind of all over the world. It's kind of cool to see. So thank you guys for tuning in, for the support, and we shall see you guys next week.